Hello, this is Bouchard Industries, and today we will be covering variables. Variables is very important in programming. Without variables, we wouldn't have any programs. So, let's cover the most basic variable in C++. The most basic variable is int. Int is a number between minus 2 billion and 2 billion. So, how you declare variables is you put the variable type and then you give it any name that you want. So let's call this variable age. So age is equal to any number you want. So let's say 55. Don't forget that semicolon at the end. So how do we output the age? Just put the age down here and it will be outputted to the screen. So hit Control F9 and then click on Run, and there you go. You see that it's outputted to the screen. So the reason we have variables in programming, it's because we want to keep track of a lot of numbers sometimes, and it's useful whenever we want to change them. We can change them at any time we want. Until later on, I'll tell you why sometimes you don't want the program to be able to change a variable. But for now, let's just do this. Let's change this number here. So we can set that number to anything you want. Let's try this one. And then there you go, that's outputted to the screen. So it's almost silly to use int for age, because there's no way you could have minus age, or there's no way you could be living above 100 years unless you're really lucky. So we want to use a variable type that is smaller than that. And I think it's good practice to use smaller variable types because your computer takes less, takes less storage on your RAM. So instead of using int, we're going to use short. So short is a number between minus 32,000 and 32,000. So that's still a very large number, but it's way better on your computer. Short takes half the space that an int does on your RAM, so it's good practice to use short when you can. So we know that age can be a negative number. So what we want to do is put unsigned right here behind the data type. So when you put unsigned here beside short, it lets you use a number between 0 to 65,000. And when you don't have this, it's a number between minus 32,000 and 32,000. So an age is always positive. So if we do that, then it's kind of a safety feature to be like, okay, well, there's something wrong. If you put, -1 for age, you try to run it, it's going to give you 65,000. So you'll know that something's wrong if it goes that high. The computer is trying to make sense of this number, so it's just going to the number behind 0, which is 65,000 for this this particular case here. So we set the age to 5. So there you go. So let's try other data types for variables. One of them is called bool. Bool is pretty much just true or false, 0 or 1. So let's say we have a bool called is cool, and we set it to true. So we want to output this to the screen and see the results. Press Control F9 and then click Run. So you see it's 1. So is cool is equal to true, and it's equal to 1. So let's change that to a false. Control F9 and click Run. So that's 0. So you might be asking, why don't you use a short for 0 and 1? Well, it's like I said earlier, this saves a lot of computing power. If you just put a bool instead of a number like a short or an int. Bool is very useful just for true and false stuff. So you could say is man, and then later on you could say if it's false, then you know it's a female. If it's true, then you know it's a male. So that could be used for, I don't know, gender differentiating in video games. So let's try another data type. So float is a decimal number. So you can have money, for example. So float cash is equal to $2.50. So let's print out the cash and see what it does. Control F9, click run, and there you go, you see 2.5. Floats are very useful in programming. Now if you tried to do that with an int, it would just round it up to 2. So if you did 2.6 for an int, see, it still rounds down. So ints are pretty simple. It's meant to be used for round numbers. Short is the same thing. Short is using round numbers as well. So yeah, floats are very useful if you want to do decimal point numbers. A variable can be changed again later on. So you could say cash is equal to $3.25. So which one do you think is going to print out first? This one or this one? Let's find out. So only this one printed out because this initializes the variable. This here initializes the variable, and then this here sets it to a number. This sets a variable to a new number, and this outputs the variable. So you see what happened here? The cash got changed before it was printed out. So if you would do this, for example, this is not good. You're reinitializing the variable again. The compiler is going to tell you variable that is already initialized. See? Error, redeclaration of float cash. So you would have to call it something else if you wanted a second variable. So you'd call it cash2, and there you go. That lets you create a new variable. But for now, let's just focus on one variable. So the variable can be changed at any time. So we can also change it after we output it to the screen. So let's say cash is equal to $4.46. And then let's output it to the screen again. And let's see what happens. Control F9. And there you go. You've got the first one here, 2.5. It got outputted to the screen. You set it to a new number now, and then it's outputted to the screen a second time. If you really like C++ and would like to learn more, I would recommend keep watching my videos. But I will also recommend buying this book. It really helped me learn a lot about C++. If you found this video useful, please subscribe and leave me a thumbs up.